Hey, what's Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. It is Sunday, March 27th, 2022. I had to check the year because it just seems like it's Groundhog Day over and over again with all of these shows. I'm Norm in London, and we
I
had
had
an
the hood.
appearance from the Grim Reaper in
Yeah,
Cheektowaga, New York,
yeah, I had the
who
hood on.
doubles as the Italian stallion, Mr. Mike Augello. Mr. A, what a fantastic game that was
Oh,
last night in La Belle Province. The Habs getting outshot 51-18 and coming away with a 4-2 win over the lackluster Maple Brothers. So big win for the Habs, the reigning Stanley Cup finalists, beating up again a team in the Maple Leafs that are just sheer pretenders. Good afternoon, my friend.
good afternoon. I forgot my scythe. But
Yeah.
see, this is the thing, and I know I've been accused of harping on things too many times, but and certain things,
Harp away, Michael.
and the reason I do is because they're friggin' true.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say, so when I complain about certain players, which we'll get to in a little bit, or when I complain about this team and what they do against certain teams, um, yesterday, they come up against the league's worst record, a team that just traded Sherratt, a team that has, cleared out significant portions of their roster.
Right.
And now, okay, it's Montreal, Toronto. It doesn't matter who's playing for them. It's, they work themselves up into a lather, just like I said, the Sabres do. And just like, teams that come to Toronto because they have a bunch of Ontario kids, all that, blah, 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 blah. The whole point here
It's
is,
not the 90s and early 2000s anymore, Michael.
yeah,
Different times, my friend.
but the point is that this team, when it's time to come up big, comes up small. Almost every single time. And I know,
Right.
that, like I got excoriated on Twitter a couple months ago when I complained about the Leafs losing to the Coyotes and Karel Velmelka, and I looked up this game on Saturday was almost an exact carbon copy of that game. They lost 2-1 that time. They had 45 shots in Velmelka, and they couldn't beat them. Last night, now Sheldon Keefe was right to point out they had a lot of shots from the periphery. It was like a Ron Wilson game. It was like, they just threw the puck at the net. They had maybe, I'd say, 5 or 6 really, really good scoring
That's
chances.
a problem, Mike. I mean,
Yeah.
You're halfway to a century in the shot department, and 90% of them are meaningless. That's a problem. Yet it typifies this Maple Leafs team. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's just not a lot of substance there. I mean, despite having Austin Matthews in his 47 goals and Nylander being on a pace that will eclipse every other campaign he's ever had, and Marner scoring the way he is, there's just not enough substance, in the minutia of this team to give us the sense that it'll be there when it counts, and it will do the things it needs to do when the chips are down and the game is on the line, Mike.
Yeah, where's the
Just a lot of smoke and mirrors, and we just can't be making excuses about it anymore. It's just evident game after game after game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's the proof? Because
Right.
we've seen this story play out. And okay, granted, they were underdogs against Washington. They were underdogs the 2 times against Boston, but
Right.
they were favored against Columbus, and they were extremely favored against Montreal, and they've lost 5 in a row. So we can keep harping on that, but it's sort of, this is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I looked it up when I was writing my article today. Since New Year's, since the long pause because of Omicron, they've lost to Montreal twice. They've lost to Arizona twice. They've lost to Buffalo twice. That's the 26th, 31st, and 32nd ranked team.
All show, no go, Mike. You obliterate those pieces of shit.
Yeah,
and the Leafs do not. So all show, no go. Forget it.
And the 11 points, because 11 of a possible 12 points, the 11 points that they lost to those bottom dwellers are the difference between them being leading the league, leading the President's Trophy and being in the second wild card. So
yeah,
I'm sorry. It's like, you can, and I understand why Sheldon Keefe after the game says, I'll take that effort 82 times. Okay, will you take that production 82 times? Because if you, based on who you played against and how many goals you scored, you'd go 0-82. I understand why he says what he says, because he's trying to, like, if he rips that team after they have 51 shots against the Habs, it'll rip the team apart. But as somebody who's an observer of this team and as somebody who has watched this team for most of their life, this is just old hat. This is just the same old crap. I remember back in the day, Norm, when they're playing the Atlanta Thrashers, and they'd lose to the Atlanta Thrashers, a team that didn't belong on the same goddamn ice surface. So it's
Ilya Kovalchuk was a fantastic, but Steve Ruchin too. Those were the days. And Mark Savard.
This was before Ilya
and Jason Williams.
This was like the Ray Ferraro Atlanta Thrashers. So
did the Leafs get their ass kicked by the Atlanta Flames too?
Well, I don't know about that, but that was, but I'm just saying this is, this is a situation that is not new to this team. And, you can be as glasses half full as anybody. Okay. Right now, I just don't, no matter who they bring in, I just don't see things changing.
Right. This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. New vehicles coming in all the time. Edge, Escape, Hybrid, really, really, really popular right now. Everybody wants to lower their fuel consumption. You can do that. You can cut your fuel consumption in half by 50%. That's half. But it's legit, and people are wanting to do this constantly. Mike, I'm getting clients calling me saying, "Look, Norm, I wanted a truck 2 years ago. I love my truck. I just can't afford to operate it." So people are getting out of trucks, getting into much more diminutive vehicles, but even at the gas pump, saving them a ton of money. Explorers, we do have trucks coming in for the truck heads who just will pound through the shitty circumstances with fuel prices. It's all happening right now. You guys can get at me, the leafsconvo@gmail.com. You can reach me on Instagram at Norm at Oak Ridge Ford. I can certainly help you guys out. I'm looking after OGs and converts who need vehicles. And if you guys send people my way, of course, we have a deal with Oak Ridge Ford. I'll take care of you too. Mr. A, I'm looking right now at the playoff situation. The Leafs are certainly not amongst the top three in the Atlantic in the first wild card spot right now. But that may change by the next few hours, the next few days. They could be the second wild card team. What's striking to me, and I sound like a broken record here, is just how many goals against the Leafs have given up. Okay, 195 goals against. The top 6 teams in the conference, nowhere even close to 196 goals against. And when you look at how much rubber gets past Shalgren and Campbell, and how decommitted this team is to playing solid defense. I don't care what kind of playoff we're expecting number 88 to have again, what kind of reclamation process you're going to have Marner go through to finally show up in the playoffs. Matthews, St. Matthews. If you're not tougher and you're not locking it down in 3 zones and you don't have a goaltender standing on his fucking head, this team's going nowhere. I'm sorry. It's going nowhere, and we're going to be headed for a semi-rebuild in the retooling for sure in the offseason. That's where we're at right now, and the problem is 18 games between now and the start of the playoffs. I can't see how the Leafs modify their game to an extent which will present them as a serious challenge defensively. Mike, the offense is not the problem.
No,
they give up way too many goals, and they are not committed to defense. The forwards aren't committed to defense. 88 last night, that David Savard goal, just didn't give a shit. No, I don't care. Go score a goal. I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but look, the team doesn't play enough defense for me to get excited about it. Could they win the first round and just luck it out and beat a team like Florida or whomever? Sure. Is that enough?
Well,
No way. They don't have the horses. They don't have the commitment, or they
they're
just don't have the philosophy on the ice that strikes fear in the heart of opponents and should get us excited for a major monumental run to come. Not a
there's
chance.
there are some people like, okay, they're sixth in goal differential this year, which is excellent, but and they're plus 39, but they're middle of the pack in terms of goals
But they
against.
give up too many goals
Right,
compared to
I
their
know,
to
I know,
their um
I know. That's what I'm saying. You
their
know,
contemporaries, Mike.
when you're third in the NHL in offense, and the problem
Right.
is that's not going to be in place when playoffs roll around. You're not going to score at the rate that they're scoring right now during the regular season, because the regular season, they'll load up and score 10 goals on Detroit. But when you're in a playoff match against a Tampa Bay or a Florida or a Boston, you're probably at most going to score 3 goals a game. And right now, I mean, is part of this the goaltending is not great? Yes, Mrazek had a good outing against New Jersey, but he's been all in all a disappointment. Shalgren is, I think, in spite of the fact of the way he played the first couple games, he's an AHL goaltender. He was never brought in here to say, okay, this is a guy who was there to be.
You're making us feel even better.
This is a guy who was brought in to be basically an innings eater at the American Hockey League level, because Ian Scott and Joseph Wall couldn't stay healthy. The weight was on Jack Campbell, and Jack Campbell now has been out, almost a month? So, they need Jack Campbell to come back, and apparently he's going to be skating today and, maybe back by, say, this time next week.
Yeah.
That's not the point. The point is that this team is continuing to be reliant on wide open offense that is not sustainable when the playoffs roll around. Now, I've heard some people say, well, because of the compacted schedule, because of the way that the league has been in terms of offense this year, as opposed to previous years, that maybe this is a year a pure offensive team or a more offensive minded team gets through. Yeah. Florida can score goals too. Tampa can score.
That theory, clearly just a theory. Why would anything change? Why would anything change whatsoever? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, and
what is this?
Who
comes up with this nonsense?
Best case scenario, facing whoever they would face in the Atlantic or as a wild card was Boston. Okay, there's a team that you have a mental block against, that you haven't beaten in 3 consecutive series. Yeah. That has the Patrice Bergeron, who's just a killer in the playoffs, and Marchand and Pasternak. They have a rookie goaltender, but this is a team that you've proven that you can't beat. So, I mean, I see the best case scenario is playing Freddie Anderson and the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, they're a really good team too. Yeah. So honestly, I don't. Yeah. Okay.
Leaf Nation, not enough defensively responsible forwards on the Leafs. Carolina, Stahl, Nino, Aho, Teravainen, those guys are top players, and they know how to play at both ends. The proof is on the table, Mike. 156 goals against Carolina. It sounds simple, but they give up so few goals, and they've scored over 200. 200 sufficient. You don't have to you don't have to have 5 40-goal scorers. You don't have to. But if you give up so few goals and you play a lockdown defensive game, sure, you're gonna have some cluster Fs, right? But at the end of the day, your opposition knows that scoring on you is going to be a severe challenge that night, and all you need to do is have run out some special teams, play your ass off in those situations. So again, I'm not saying do I want Carolina over the Leafs? I mean, this is what we care about here, right? We care about this crest. We care about the history. We know it's been tumultuous, and it's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. I'd rather be a Leaf fan than a Carolina Hurricanes fan. But that kind of team is the kind of team that I would like to see the Maple Leafs emulate to at least a degree, right?
The funny thing is that, Leaf fans point to Carolina and say they're depending on Freddie Anderson to not show up, like supposedly he didn't show up for you. Yeah.
Maybe he loses his nerve. Maybe.
The problem is that
maybe he doesn't.
The problem is that that doesn't really mean anything, because he was exposed by a bad Toronto defense
right.
for for 5 years. So more, if you want
Again,
to talk about like a bad case scenario, here you go, is Freddie Anderson standing on his head and beating the Leafs and proving to the Leafs that they made a mistake in not signing him. So, I mean, I don't know. All I know is that the way this team is playing right now,
right,
where you're playing against a bad Buffalo team who had been
right.
playing against a bad Arizona team, playing against a Habs team
Montreal,
that's playing out the string, and you've lost 6 games to them
right.
since January 1st. It's inexcusable, and there just seems to be no accountability when it comes to the responsibility of a top level team beating the teams that they should beat. And they, so is everything forgotten if they beat Florida tonight? Not for me, because
How?
yeah, well, no, but fans will say, oh, they beat the first place team in the
Good
Atlantic.
for them.
They stood up against Carolina, and they beat Carolina with Eric
Mhm.
Shalgren. But then they lost to Nashville with Shalgren. Then they lost to Montreal with Shalgren. So it's
Right.
like, good teams win most of the games against the bad teams. Every once in a while, there's an exception to the rule, and that's where people beat on me because I said that good teams don't lose to Arizona. Yeah, but most of the time they beat those teams, and the Leafs, it seems every time they play a bad team, they lose to them.
Are the Leafs really a good team? Like, are they truly amongst the elite? Sure, they score with the best of them, but do they play the other aspects of the game, the important aspects of the game, the complete aspects of the game, to be able to sit at the table with the not only the top teams statistically in the league and the most feared teams, but the ones that we believe and the experts believe and the Twitter sphere believes has the best chance to go deep in these playoffs. No effing way, Mike. And it's this, like, again, the thing with the Leafs combo is we just tell it like it is based on the way it is. If OGs or converts or anyone, haters, people who just drop in and trash talk us, if you don't think we're right, then don't be a douchebag. Just write in the comments. Don't attack Mike and I, two guys who've been around forever, just talking. Write in the comments why you think, you know what, this is the year. You guys are wrong. And you know what? 88, our guy is going to prove you all wrong. He's going to lead the way. And when Matthews is finally disassociated from Marner and plays with a heavenly player like Nylander, then things will really start to take shape. Lay it out for us. I'd like to hear it. And you know what? I will drink the bloody Kool-Aid if it's,
Even
if it's palatable, but it's not. We all know.
even the hardiest Nylander defender couldn't defend what he did yesterday. Okay, he scored a goal. I said, he did his best to make up for. But Sheldon Keefe after the game, he said, he had there have been 3 or 4 plays before him sort of Cadillacing and not covering David Savard.
Hey, this is a Ford show. We're not a GM show. Then again, okay, you're right. Yeah, Keith's cattle. He's not Lincolning or Fording.
Yeah, 8 miles a gallon Nylander. So
what am I talking about?
Yeah, he clearly, as a defenseman coming in from the point, didn't cover the guy. That was his guy.
Yeah.
And immediately after that, Keefe moved him down to the third line and moved up McCabe. And the problem here is they really don't have an answer if Nylander and Tavares are not playing and taking some of the heat off of Matthews and Marner. And that's the issue here.
They're going to score. They're just not committed. Again, the analytics guys and William Nylander is the poster child for the way to do things through analytics, right? Just run a spreadsheet and put the players in place that we think will execute based on our projections, and they'll win Stanley Cups. It's a component to your scouting, to things that you look at when you're assessing your team, you're assessing the opposition, but it's not the be all and end all. We clearly know that. You need solid human beings who are going to get the job done and not lose their nerve. Unfortunately, Nylander's taking a lot of shit right now. He's a solid player within his little realm, but again, he exemplifies what's wrong with this team. He doesn't represent what's right about it. right? He's a good offensive player. He's got flash. He connects with the generation, but he just doesn't bring enough, right? And he's not the only one, right? But he just doesn't bring enough, and that's why I'm predicting that, whether this team does anything in the playoffs or not, this summer there will be a ramification of this group, and whether that's the top guy uh, being lopped off and then the rest of them split up, or the top guy basically, having the proverbial gun to his head and, forced to make some changes, because I think just the direction of the organization and the way this team is put together definitely has to change if it's going to do anything immediate and do anything long term.
Now, they have 18 games left.
Yeah. And what do we want? What do we want from these 18 games, Mike? Goals?
Well, I mean, besides personal glory for Austin Matthews, I'm all for it. That's the thing. I have nothing against that. I love Austin Matthews as a player. I think he's a fantastic talent. He wants to, I think he's going to end up breaking Vive's record. He could score 60 goals. In the end, that's all fine and good. But this team having success in the postseason is what really I think is the motivation and the goal of most of the fan base. And if he scores 60 goals and all of a sudden they lose in the first round of the playoffs again, what does that accomplish? So I mean, we can see what they will do over the last 18 games, but until the puck drops in game 1 of the first round, and we see how they play when their feet are held to the fire. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is the thing. It's like, like I said before, 3 of the first 5 years in this current stretch, they were the underdog. Very likely they're going to be the underdog in year 6. So they're going to be the underdog against, Florida or Tampa or Boston or whoever, or Carolina. Yeah. Okay. Does that take they'll be the only underdog that's got more pressure on them than the favorite, because it's Toronto and it's justified.
Yeah. Look, the only expectation I have of this team is it will score. That's great. I like it. I mean, Austin Matthews, as I mentioned last
but they didn't score in the playoffs last year. That's the problem.
But between now and game 82, it will score. And it will probably score in the playoffs too. But you need to do more than score. You need to be tough. You need to play physical. You need to be aggressive in points. You need to be opportunistic. You need to play defensive hockey. The Leafs do not play defensive hockey. Even if Campbell's all world, does he have the support, right? You brought up the point about Freddie. Freddie fell out of favor here. He lost his nerve, and it's you're susceptible to losing your nerve when you don the blue and white, and then you're castigated and you're exiled. What happened? Well, it wasn't that he forgot how to be an NHL goaltender. Jack Campbell took over. And we've seen it, Mike. We've seen guys in Major League Baseball lose their starting spots for the bulk of a season, the remainder of a season, because somebody gets hot, right, and somebody falls out of favor. So what happens with Freddie Anderson? Well, he goes to a place where they play the kind of hockey that supports the fucking goaltender, right? Again, I feel like the Leafs have enough scoring. I think the key now is just to change philosophically, change the heart of the team. In 18 games, can that take place? And will one of those goaltenders become all world? Yeah, and Nylander's going to score in the playoffs because his minions like to emphasize that he's the only guy who showed up last year, because that's a badge of honor, right? It's always been Nylander versus the team. It's whatever 88 does. It's because he's effervescent, and the rest of these scrubs can't even hold a candle to him. Then again, when he doesn't play well, he should be with Matthews, and Marner should play with Tavares. But what I'm saying, though, is, so we all know he's going to score his points, so that's good. He's good. Can the rest of the team?
It's emphasized because Matthews and Marner didn't score. That's right. It proved that they proved the case. Oh, Nylander is great because he scored when, and like I said, he was great in the playoffs last year. He showed up. I gave him full credit. And I thought he should have been an all-star based on the time, like from October to like mid to late December. And then all of a sudden something changed, and all of a sudden he stopped scoring, and all of a sudden he stopped playing two-way hockey. They were saying in the post game yesterday that it was the last month. It's been since mid-January. It's been 2 months. So now there are a couple things that we need to talk about, because
was it, how do you pronounce his name? Abruzzi?
Abruzzese. Nick
Abruzzese. Is he Italian?
No, he's Polish.
I just figured that just rolled off your Italian tongue.
Yeah, Abruzzese.
Abruzzese and Knees.
Yeah, he's from Long Island.
And then we want to talk a little bit about Giordano, and then we'll spare everybody our ranting and raving and whining.
Let's start with Giordano.
Go for it.
He's played 2 games. He's played with Liljegren. I think they've been pretty good. The pairings will probably change up when Muzzin comes back. Probably then I would assume they keep Riley and Lyubushkin together. They put Muzzin and Hall together, and then they probably reunite Brody and Giordano. And if that's the case, then that's a pretty good top 6.
And we don't do we need Giordano to, like, I don't care if he gets points. I just want solid contributor minutes. And that's great. Still gave up 4 goals, and that's, they should be right now giving up somewhere between 2.5 and 3 goals a game to make us all feel a little bit better. I just don't know if they're capable. I know they're not capable of it, but even lightning in a bottle, I don't think it's possible. But again, just capable, be healthy, help these cats. You don't need to score. Right. Those days are behind him. Just be a good, solid contributor while you're here.
And I, it's a 2-game window, but I think so far he's been solid, and that's all they want him. And they, if they make the right decisions, show some veteran plays. With Muzzin out, they don't really have to rush Muzzin back right now, because they have enough experience with somebody like Giordano, along with Riley, along with the Brody, so they can survive. But they really need Muzzin back and have that top 6 together. And with the unfortunate injury to Sandin, that sort of makes their decision easy, because if they have to sit out Liljegren. I mean, Liljegren, I think, has played pretty decently all year.
Right.
I think he's going to be part of this team next year, but they definitely needed some experience, and Giordano is providing that. Now, now it's funny, because they made a deal after the deadline. I pointed this out in a blog a couple days ago. They made a deal after the deadline, clearing a player who they signed as a free agent last year, who was not playing a lot for the Marlies, Brennan Mennel. They traded him to Philadelphia to play with Lehigh Valley. They cleared a contract spot, and I think the reason they did that is because they're planning not only to sign Abruzzese, they're probably going to sign Matthew Nyes, their 2021 second-round pick, after Minnesota is done in the Frozen Four. If they make the Frozen Four, they're playing today.
Okay.
They're probably going to sign him. From the indications that I've heard from people, and also including what Elliot Friedman has reported, Abruzzese is going to get an opportunity to play with the Leafs before the end of the season. Now, that doesn't mean that they, maybe he plays for the Marlies a little bit. Maybe they'll just give him a couple games. They'll look. But, if he plays well, he could find himself in the mix. And believe me, there are enough openings right now, based on the way some players are playing, that he could get a genuine opportunity. Nyes is 19 years old. Maybe he gets a chance to play with the Marlies. Maybe he gets a chance to play with the Leafs. I don't know. But, yeah, please. Yeah, okay. But, yeah, but I like, these are long-term moves. These are not like, let's sign these guys right now to see what they're going to do against, like playoffs this year. These are guys like Abruzzese is 22 years old. Nyes is 19 years old. They're future prospects.
Do you have intestinal fortitude, and can you play defensive hockey? Because if you have one of the two, the Leafs are offering you opportunity. If you have both, you're going to be one of the better players on the team.
Well, Nyes is a big kid. He's 6'4", 220, 230. So
Yeah.
he would provide a little bit of physicality that is missing on this team. Abraziz is more of a small offensive player.
Calvin wants us to waive Simmons.
Well, I mean,
We've been going on about it the whole show, so we got to get it in there.
And Leafs Nation in the chats, Nyes got her injured today. He came back. So he's not injured. He came back in the game. So stop the panic.
This is great.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean,
I know. Shouldn't we be chomping at the bit right now? Man, this is it. This is the time. Finally, these guys are going to make it happen. Exercise the demons, not only from last spring, but all of the failures in recent memory, and even deeper than that. That's what we should be talking about right now, is just the potential, the opportunity about to arise. And instead, partly because we're, Stadler and Waldorf from the Muppets, right? A couple of old curmudgeons, but mostly it's because this team doesn't lend to any kind of imagination or excitement or hope or potential or opportunity. It just doesn't, based on the way it plays. Scores lights out, best in the league potential, arguably, right? Other than that, there's just so much left to be desired. So we just have to temper all the expectations and see what happens, and see what some of the things that can develop between now and whenever the season's over can be carried over to the next step, the next phase of this team's construction. That's how I'm kind of looking at it, Mike. Florida tonight, you mentioned the Leafs may beat Florida. I'm sorry, it really won't, unless it's a shutout, and it's just a 2-0 shutout, boring hockey. Just shut them down. There's really not much for me to be watching and getting excited about. I'll leave the last couple words to you.
Well, I mean, I think there's something to prove in terms of playing against one of the top teams in the East and how you fare against them. They played a good game against Carolina last week with an AHL goaltender. And I'm not insulting him, but Chalgren's been an AHL goaltender all year, so that's really what he is.
Yeah.
Right. So they played well against it. So it's not impossible for them to play well against Florida. Florida played last night against Ottawa. So there's no advantage in terms of back-to-back. Bobrovsky played against Ottawa, so more than likely Spencer Knight, the rookie, who's a really good young goaltender, will play against the Leafs. But again, I can't get the stench of what happened last night off in terms of this team not showing up when they need to against teams.
Yeah.
The points that they're bleeding against these bad teams are killer. And I can't emphasize it enough, but we'll see what happens. There's 18 games to go. Maybe they can straighten things out. I'm not going to hold my breath.
But if they win those games in sloppy fashion, have all those points, and are in the running for the President's Trophy, we know what's up.
No, but I'm saying by straightening it out, I mean playing like they did up until December 1st, playing like they did at the beginning of the season, playing with playing well. If they play like that, then I think there's a reason to be genuinely encouraged. And if they play sort of, shinny, happy-go-lucky type of game, then the writing's on the wall.
The emphasis is at the offensive end of things. So Muzzin comes back. Giordano's there for as long as he can be. You have Sandin return. Brody's playing as best he can. Jack Campbell finds some semblance of the Vezina type of player that he was last year and early in this season. What does it get again though? And the Leafs still score. Sure, their chances potentially improve, but if they don't change the mindset, if they don't buy into complete defensive hockey, where guys like 88 are rubbing guys out, even if it causes a penalty, they've got a good penalty kill, just to stop these easy lackluster chances, if they don't commit to full team defense, what the F does the rest of it mean, Mike?
Yeah.
I'm just not, who am I, right? I'm just some guy with the same Leaf hat over and over with the brim that needs to be bent, but I don't want to, because I'm trying to keep it going for as long as possible. It's just I want to see a better team defense, and the Leafs just don't have it, and I don't know how wanting that is adverse to a team, and having a team commit that is adverse to a team's success, right? It's just one of those things. Low expectations overall. The only expectation I have is that the Leafs are going to light the lamp constantly. Matthews is going to score his 60. Marner is going to just bunch of points. Uh, you know, they'll do what they have to do offensively, but leave so much else to be desired. Anything else you want to hit on, Mike, or do you want to get the
No,
heck out of here?
we'll stop. We'll stop there and just save it for later in the week.
Yeah, OG's conference. Thanks for last week, one of our biggest weeks in a very long time, and that's had to do with the Giordano move and just it being that time of year. I'd like to see us collectively on the YouTube channel get to 1 million views by the end of the project, and that's at the end of this season, whenever the Leafs bow out. For the sake of that, I hope they go on and on and on so we can keep doing this, because it is a lot of fun. But we have some numbers to hit ourselves, and I think we all owe it to ourselves to spread the word about this project and let everybody know that this is a damn good platform for discussion and interaction. And you guys have proven that recently with the amount of content that you have been contributing to community and to our podcast platforms, and of course to the live showdown between Mike and I. So bravo to you. You haven't lost your nerve. You're coming through for us. But we want you to continue coming back as Mike and I pound the pavement hard on this team, because we love the Leafs, man. We love this team, and we want to see it do better. And we deserve better. We really do. We do. And as a fan base, as people who support this team, who live with it thick and thin, and we live and die and blood, sweat, and tears, the whole shebang. We deserve better than what we've been getting. And you know what? We'll never get better if we just shut our mouths about it. So that's that, Michael. And enjoy the Yankees' third place finish in the division this year, because
Yeah.
everybody's picking the Blue Jays to win the World Series. You know what that means?
Yeah.
79, 79 and 83.
Yeah. Randall Grichuk was a Yankee killer, so thanks for trading him to Colorado.
Oh my gosh. Kikuchi, man, he threw just kept throwing curveballs at Bryce Harper today, and Harper launched both of them. It's like, buddy, like you got to stop it. Anyway, for Mike, I'm Norm. We'll talk to you soon.